The Bermuda Triangle, a region of the ocean that transcends our understanding. For decades, stories of inexplicable disappearances, instrument failures, and sudden weather conditions have baffled science and fascinated the public. But what really happens there? Are these merely forces of nature, or is there something darker, beyond our comprehension? In this video, we'll explore disturbing cases of ships and planes that vanished without a trace. Some have scientific explanations, while others defy logic and open doors to the unknown. Before we begin this journey, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to receive more videos about mysteries and enigmas of the world. Get ready to discover a side of the Bermuda Triangle you may have never imagined. In March of 1918, the sea, silent and eternal, swallowed the USS Cyclops and its 309 crew members, leaving the world perplexed. That immense iron colossus, designed to cross the waters with the strength of a giant, simply vanished. There was no distress signal, no floating wreckage, just an unexpected emptiness that spread across the Atlantic. It was as if the ocean had claimed its own piece of steel and human flesh without warning, a tribute to the unfathomable mystery of the depths. In its last stop in Barbados, the Cyclops seemed just another sturdy shadow under the tropical sun, a tireless transporter loaded with manganese, essential for the war industry. Yet something behind the veil of reality seemed to be moving, preparing the ship for a journey that would be lost to the night. The Cyclops was no ordinary vessel. Equipped with the strength of steel and human ingenuity, it was a solid and intimidating presence. It was hard to imagine that anything, no matter how great, could challenge its structure and simply erase it from the waters. The U.S. Navy considered it safe, unshakable, perhaps even immune to the ocean's sudden changes. But in its disappearance, the Cyclops left a trail of uncertainties and doubts that no modern radar or sonar could ever trace. Oceanographers try to attribute a predictability to the ocean that it rejects, and thus, any attempt at logic encounters resistance in the eternal and unpredictable currents. Some say that the sea holds ancient secrets, layers of time stacked like invisible sediments in the depths, where past and future events intertwine. And the Cyclops may have been drawn into one of these temporal cracks, like an unsuspecting fly wandering into a web. Stories of such sudden disappearances are rare, yet they're never without a chilling inevitability. The Cyclops didn't sink alone. It took with it lives, dreams, the laughter and fatigue of hundreds of men. And those who tried to investigate its disappearance find only questions instead of answers, as if the ocean itself mocked our inability to decipher it. Some theories try to root the disappearance in tangible reality. What if the weight of the manganese, so vital yet so dense, triggered a reaction, an invisible explosion in the silence of deep water? Or perhaps a giant wave, the sudden force of an aquatic colossus, shook the Cyclops structure so violently that it simply shattered into 1,000 pieces that the ocean, in its vastness, hurriedly consumed? But there is no wreckage, and the waters of the Bermuda Triangle remain impassive, as if each theory fell inert on its surface, unable to penetrate its mystery. But others whisper of deeper, more unfathomable phenomena. They speak of regions in the sea where Earth's magnetism is so intense that it seems to pull everything that crosses its invisible lines. It's as if the Bermuda Triangle conceals cosmic portals, a sort of universal fabric where logic folds upon itself, where time and space behave like an unstable current. And perhaps the Cyclops simply crossed into one of these zones of discontinuity, captured by something so ancient that time itself lost meaning. What fate might this crew have met upon entering a region where the laws of physics dissolve? The question remains, but the Cyclops, like so many others, seems unwilling to answer. It's as if each lost ship holds a conscious choice, a silent complicity with the mystery. Meanwhile, we, here on the surface, keep our eyes fixed on the horizon, trying to grasp what lies beyond, trying to understand. On December 5, 1945, 5 Avenger bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale for what seemed to be a routine training mission. It was an ordinary afternoon, the kind of operation repeated day after day. The planes formed an arrow in the sky, led by the experienced Lieutenant Charles Taylor, who, with over 2,500 flight hours, knew the skies like the back of his hand. But that afternoon, something beyond any man's control began to take hold, and Taylor, for the first time, appeared uncertain. When he reported issues with the navigation instruments and difficulties in determining their position, a wave of unease started spreading through air control. The mission that was supposed to last only a few hours would soon turn into one of aviation's darkest mysteries. Communication between Taylor and the base became increasingly fragmented, as if the very air were distorting the radio waves. Taylor claimed to be over the Florida Keys, but the base knew he was, in fact, north of the Bahamas, in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. As the plane's fuel began to run low, an almost palpable doubt emerged over the transmission. The once calm weather started to shift. Dense clouds seemed to form at an unusual speed, and the ocean below darkened like a canvas waiting to be filled. Taylor's last transmission was a hesitant call for help, followed by an eerie silence that no one could interpret. A Martin Mariner seaplane was dispatched for the rescue, a kind of iron angel cutting through the sky toward where the missing bombers were presumed to be. The Mariner, with its 13-person crew, was known as the lifeboat of the skies, a reliable resource in times of danger. But upon entering the Bermuda Triangle's airspace, the Mariner seemed to vanish in the same strange and silent manner as the bombers. Suddenly, all signals were cut off, as if the sky itself had closed around it, hiding it under an invisible shroud. Without a trace, the Mariner left behind only speculation and a stifling uncertainty. Rescuers scoured the ocean, sent more planes, searched every corner of the waters for weeks, yet found nothing, no wreckage, no oil stains, not a single piece of evidence that the planes had ever crossed those skies. It seemed as if the waters, in some way, had consumed the entire fleet. Specialists sought explanations in natural phenomena. Sudden storms, whirlwinds, magnetic anomalies that, according to some, are frequent in that region. But the theory of a hidden and silent force remained, something that seemed to operate in the shadows and take pleasure in those who unknowingly cross its boundaries. In the collective imagination, the disappearance of Flight 19 soon came to symbolize what many suspected but few dared to say, that the Bermuda Triangle is not merely a place on the map, but a kind of entity in its own right. Some theories delve even deeper, suggesting that, at specific moments, there is a shift in the air, as if the natural elements in that area follow their own logic. Could Taylor and his men have unwittingly encountered one of these rare moments? Something that altered the very composition of the space around them? The truth remains in the depths of the waters, guarded by a sea that provides no answers. Flight 19 left behind a trail of questions that only grow with time. By consuming these planes, the Bermuda Triangle has given us yet another reason to suspect that, in the end, we are mere passengers in the hands of the unknown. In January 1948, the Star Tiger, an Avro Tudor IV of British South American Airways, was crossing the sky over the Atlantic en route to Bermuda. On board were 31 people, an experienced crew, and an atmosphere that everything would go as planned. But that night, the sky seemed especially heavy, the clouds closing in like a blanket of shadows swallowing the plane as it continued. In its last contact, the pilot reported that everything was in order. Moments later, the Star Tiger plunged into silence. It simply disappeared from the radar without issuing any distress call, swallowed by emptiness. Less than a year later, the scene repeated itself. On January 17, 1949, the Star Ariel, another Avro Tudor IV, took off from Bermuda bound for Kingston, Jamaica. The captain, experienced and familiar with the region, reported good weather and a smooth flight. Then, like a whisper lost to the wind, the Star Ariel vanished. There was no sudden turbulence, no indication of trouble, just the cold silence that covered the waves as the plane disappeared. The normality of the flight that turned into mystery was a blow, as if reality itself had retracted, taking with it every passenger and every word. Investigators scoured the sky and ocean for evidence. No wreckage was found, no final message revealed, just the void of an event that seemed to escape explanation. As much as they tried, scientists and authorities were faced with a wall of uncertainty. Some theories argue that both planes may have faced a structural or mechanical failure, but how do you explain that two planes disappeared in less than a year in the same air territory? The Bermuda Triangle, with its tacit silence, offered only more doubts, a puzzle with no visible pieces. It's impossible not to wonder if the Bermuda Triangle exerts an unusual pull, a kind of distortion that defies logic. Some scientists speculate that magnetic anomalies may be more intense in the region, potentially causing failures in navigation systems. But the bolder lines of thought speak of something beyond conventional science. What if there existed, some sort of bridge between realities, a breach in the fabric of spacetime that opens and closes, erasing everything it touches? An absurd idea, skeptics would say, but the Bermuda Triangle is not a place that offers certainties. Some believe that the Star Tiger and the Star Ariel encountered this void, a lapse where time disintegrates, a dimension where matter loses its meaning and the ocean is no longer a barrier. These planes may have been pulled into another reality, one we can't even imagine. Or perhaps they are down there, in the unfathomable depths, waiting for the moment when nature, on a whim, decides to return them to the world, their stories etched in the impenetrable silence of the ocean. The disappearance of the Star Tiger and the Star Ariel remains a ghost in the skies, a reminder that not everything can be controlled or understood. The Bermuda Triangle is not a place of easy answers. It is a territory where echoes of the inexplicable intertwine with human hopes, and where, with every flight, a silent challenge is issued to those who dare to cross it. The Bermuda Triangle is a vast enigma marked by absences. It stretches between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, but its true domain lies somewhere beyond maps and conventional explanations. Over the centuries, this region has witnessed the disappearance of ships and planes, stories interrupted in the silence of the sea, as if the ocean had decided to erase the existence of hundreds of souls without leaving a single clue. For those watching from afar, the triangle is a curiosity. But for those who have faced its silence, it is something much deeper, a place where the known world meets the boundaries of the impossible. Science tries, from time to time, to find a rational explanation, offering theories ranging from ocean currents to methane gas bubbles and geomagnetic storms. For some, the answer lies in extreme natural forces, like giant waves that appear and disappear within seconds, like invisible hands pushing vessels off the surface. Others suggest that magnetic interferences disorient compasses and navigation systems, leading planes and ships into chaotic and ultimately tragic routes. Yet, these explanations stumble upon a persistent question. Why do so many disappearances happen only there? Beyond scientific explanations, there are those who claim that the Bermuda Triangle hides something even more extraordinary, something that defies any attempt at understanding. Among these theories are stories of portals to other dimensions, gateways to places beyond our senses, like passages between worlds where time and space behave differently. Some see this region as a point of contact between our reality and the unknown, a place where the laws of physics, as we know them, are merely temporary suggestions. Even more fascinating is the idea that the triangle could harbor the last remnants of a lost civilization, an Atlantis that remains in the depths, silent. Some imagine submerged cities, ruins that hold secrets beyond our imagination. Could these waters be guardians of the mysteries of a forgotten civilization? Or perhaps something older, a hidden intelligence that has always been watching those who dare cross its boundaries? Every time a plane or ship vanishes, the legend is renewed, as if the triangle is whispering to the curious that there are still secrets that the modern world is not ready to face. Skeptics dismiss mystical explanations, preferring the cold logic of probabilities and atmospheric phenomena. But for those who have drifted, surrounded by dark waters and a starless sky, the triangle is not an ordinary place. It is a silent, powerful presence, as if its own entity inhabits those waters, immutable and observing. This mystery is its essence, an absence that provokes and, at the same time, terrifies, a puzzle that refuses our attempts at a solution. The Bermuda Triangle defies human certainties, reminding us that there is still a vast unknown. The sea, with its mysteries and silences, remains impenetrable, and the triangle, with its stories of disappearances and disorientations, remains firm, a kind of provocation to our curiosity. Is it just a geographical coincidence, a point where chance seems to have taken residence? Or are we facing something deeper, a reality that goes beyond what our instruments can measure and our minds can understand? In the end, the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the last bastions of true mystery. It reminds us that, no matter how much we advance in knowledge, there are still places where the known yields to the unknown. As long as boats and planes continue to disappear into the depths of its domain, the Bermuda Triangle will be more than an enigma. It will be living proof that the world holds secrets that may not be ready to be revealed. In December of 1872, the Mary Celeste was found adrift in the Atlantic, like an empty shell floating in absolute silence, hundreds of miles from any coast. The ship was intact, its sails still hoisted, as if the crew had simply evaporated, leaving behind a mystery that defies understanding to this day. On board, Captain Benjamin Briggs had left the ship's log intact, with a last entry dated 10 days earlier, but there was no sign of struggle or disaster. The personal belongings were in place, the valuable cargo of industrial alcohol untouched, yet the crew, including the captain's family, had disappeared like smoke dissolving into the ocean air. The men of the Dei Grazia, who found the Mary Celeste, were perplexed by the enigmatic stillness of the ship. There were no signs of storm, piracy, or mutiny. Everything seemed frozen in an impossible moment, as if time had stopped aboard the Mary Celeste. They boarded expecting to find answers, but what they saw were merely traces of a presence that had withdrawn, leaving mystery as its only clue. The lifeboat was also missing, suggesting that the crew might have left deliberately, but where and why? Theories began to emerge, each seeming more desperate than the last to try to make sense of the inexplicable. Some speculated that a sudden, intense storm might have frightened the crew, leading them to abandon the ship temporarily, intending to return after the calm. Others said that leaks of industrial alcohol might have caused a vapor explosion, prompting the captain to order an evacuation. But none of these hypotheses answered the biggest question. Why was the ship left so intact, so meticulously orderly, like a scene on pause, a memory suspended in the emptiness of the Atlantic? The legend of the Mary Celeste began to take shape, fueled by the fascination of an enigma that neither time nor science seems capable of solving. Some suggest that invisible forces, inherent to the deep sea, are aware of everything that sails upon them, and that the Mary Celeste may have been called by something beyond human comprehension. Others turn to the supernatural, to the idea that the ship had been touched by some unspeakable energy, something that drove its crew to a kind of silent despair, forcing them to leave it behind, even knowing it would seal their fate. The Mary Celeste remains a ship of mysteries, a vessel without an owner, sailing through the memory of those who hear its story. Its legend has become a symbol of the things the ocean does not return, of the questions that time insists on preserving. Every time someone hears about the Mary Celeste, a new fragment of mystery is added, a new detail that reinforces the enigma. Was it merely an isolated case, an error of history, or another piece in the puzzle of mysteries that the ocean keeps? And so, the Mary Celeste floats in the collective imagination as an eternal reminder of what the sea can do. The crew was never found, the secrets never revealed. It is as if the ship still sails, invisible, through the seas of the unknown, proof that what disappears in the waters is not always lost. Sometimes, it merely hides. On February 2, 1963, the SS Marine Sulphur Queen set sail from Beaumont, Texas, loaded with 15,000 tons of liquid sulfur, headed for Norfolk, Virginia. It was a converted oil tanker, whose structural modifications had turned it into an unstable and fragile giant, but the dangers of that day seemed far greater than engineering flaws. In the last radio contact on February 4th, everything seemed calm, but what followed was silence, a black hole where there had once been a signal, a vanished trace. Only a few wreckage pieces reached the shore, wood fragments and life jacket, small remnants that seemed to say that, on that day, the sea had claimed another. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen disappeared, leaving behind many questions about its safety. The conversion to carry sulfur had exposed the ship to corrosive processes, while the weight of the sulfur cargo made the vessel vulnerable to any structural fault. Even so, the idea of a catastrophic explosion never answered the essential question. How is it possible for an entire ship and crew to vanish without signs of oil or major debris? It was as if the Bermuda Triangle had, once again, closed around a vessel, making it another piece of its invisible puzzle. Decades later, the sea would claim the SS El Faro on October 1, 2015. This cargo ship, with 33 crew members on board, was sailing from Jacksonville to San Juan, Puerto Rico, when it was swallowed by Hurricane Joaquin, a storm strong enough to shake the ocean and bend metal. The captain of El Faro, Michael Davidson, made the last contact reporting severe problems. The ship was listing, water was flooding the cargo hold, and the storm was relentless. When silence took over the radio, the El Faro also disappeared, leaving nothing but a heavy sadness on the waters. Thorough investigations into El Faro pointed to a combination of technical failures and human decisions. The captain underestimated the fury of the storm, and the communication system failed. But beyond the technical explanations, there is the feeling that the sea may have kept something for itself. Because no matter how many reports are made or how many maps are drawn, great disappearances do not fit perfectly into logic. And the SS El Faro, like so many others, remains a reminder that, even in times of high technology, there are forces in nature that challenge us, that remind us we are merely travelers in an immensity we barely understand. Both ships, the Marine Sulphur Queen and El Faro, were swallowed by the waters so completely that all that remains is memory, a fragmented story echoing life's fragility before the sea. The wreckage found are fragments of an incomplete narrative, pieces of a larger puzzle that hides beneath the waters of the Bermuda Triangle. They are reminders that, despite our attempts to control and explain, there is something in the ocean that remains unattainable, a silence that waits, impassive. These waters are not just a path between ports. They are a realm in themselves, where the laws of physics seem to deviate from our own. Some believe that the Bermuda Triangle is like a silent magnet, attracting anything that comes too close to its secrets. Perhaps the triangle is more than just a point on the map. Perhaps it is a line between what we understand and what we will never comprehend. These cases reveal that even great ships with experienced crews can be challenged by the triangle. Despite many causes suggesting natural or human factors, the mystery of some of these tragedies persists. As the Bermuda Triangle continues to defy clear explanations, each new story only adds to its fascination and mystery. Some attribute the disappearances to coincidences or natural phenomena. Others see something beyond our comprehension. One thing is certain. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the most mysterious regions on our planet, and its enigma continues to captivate everyone's imagination. So, what do you think? Natural phenomena, coincidences, or something supernatural? Share your theories in the comments, and if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe for more stories about the world's mysteries.